This conference will now be recorded.
So Barbara Heimlich, if you can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Go ahead, ma'am. You have the floor for 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you. 91 College Street. I'm calling regarding the Stratford Walk development, also known as Center School. I'm totally opposed to this development. And the reason I'm opposed to it is the property abuts the federally recognized Stratford Historic District, which includes homes from the 1700s. And in fact, this very property has a 1789 home on the corner of Sutton and East Broadway, which the town bought for $340,000. The town bought the Michael and Sue Copperwaite's house with taxpayer money, $340,000, and now you want to sell it as well as additional land to the developer for $1. I'm not a financial genius, but this is, even to someone with elementary math skills, a terrible return on investment. I also have to believe that those residents who live on East Broadway in a house listed on the Federal Historic Register and who pay generous property tax to the town are not in favor of the project that does not benefit the town and lowers their home value. What I would like to see is a new request for proposal written using the input that has been developed during the countless meeting with residents asking our opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Next I have Pam Robertson. Pam, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Hey, Pam, can you just state your address, ma'am?
77 Blakeman Place.
77 Blakeman.
I too am calling about the Stratford Walk proposed.
Yes.
I am against it also. I attended the community meeting in front of the Board of Ed where we discussed the options for that area. And I don't believe that not one of the options that were discussed and promoted by the people in the area are in that proposal that you're now sharing. I also feel that the apartment building is overbearing and basically disrespectful to the historic area that it will be near. And given the amount of new and proposed apartment complexes already surrounding the historic district, it isn't clear to me why we need another one, especially since it appears to be against public sentiment. Also, the area has a significant amount of traffic when we aren't in the situation we're in now. It is nearly impossible to take a right off East Broadway onto Main Street to go north. I can't imagine, even though it is being suggested that most of the residents would not be car owners. I don't believe that for a moment. The traffic impact would be significant. I don't know of anyone in my area, which I'm about 3 blocks away, that is in favor of this project. And I just question the motives of those that seem to be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Next on the list, I have Stephanie Phillips. Stephanie, you with me?
Yes, Chris, can you hear me well enough?
I can. If you could just state your address, Steph, and then you have 3 minutes when you get.
Thank you. Stephanie Phillips, 41 Yarwood Street, Stratford, Connecticut, 06615. Thank you very much for your time tonight. I am commenting that I am opposed to the center school plan as presented for the following reasons. One, although the TOD density is allowed to be up to 50 units per acre, I feel this high density will have an adverse impact on public safety and the quality of life in the neighborhood. I would recommend to the zoning board and town council to approve closer to 35 units per acre, which would reduce the total count to about 80 units. Number two, I supported the public meetings that advocated for mixed use and an art space. This plan does not include neither of these, and I would like to see, my recommendation is that the historic building of Center School should be preserved and used as an art space or some mixed use, but not to turn into housing. Number three, I'd like to see the town council request an impact on the water pollution facility to sustain this development in addition to all the other developments, housing developments that are on the books or in process. Fourth, as someone who lives on this side of town, it's impossible to pass through the town center under the railroad track at peak times. The traffic backs up to Sterling House, and we need a resolution to that to handle the traffic. Fourth, and probably my most important, is I looked at the assessment that was presented to the town council between the land value of $2 million, the 2-year tax abatement of $285,000, and the 15-year tax abatement of $5.7 million. This is all due to the fact that the town would pass the project over at $1. That would be a total investment that the town would lose in taxes of $8.5 million, or 2 mils, a little almost 2 mils. I believe that that is too much of a concession for that valuable land to be passed forward, and I'm asking that this project be rejected and sent back out to bid with more favorable financials. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Next, I have Tucker Chase. Mr. Chase, are you there, sir?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
You can just state your address for the record, Mr. Chase.
Yeah, it's 88 Academy Hill Terrace. So on June 18, I listened to the presentation of the apartment building and the condos by the developer Zenolith. I have a number of criticisms that I would like to share with you. My design criticism is mostly that the building is too big and tall. The plans shown were missing a lot of information, and particularly the height, which will be, I estimate, 60 feet above the upper parking lot, and it would be 70 feet above the lower parking lot, which is the Chase property. There was a time when the town proposed a 6-story parking garage on this site that horrified everyone. This building will be as big and tall, or more so, than the proposed garage, and will cause substantial increased traffic headaches for getting under the Metro North Bridge. Noticeably absent reviews of the building from the other side showing the 70-foot height above the lower parking area. Nothing is like this downtown. My, quote, how does this benefit anyone in the town of Stratford, end quote, criticism is as follows. The project gives nothing back to the residents of the town. It is a planning mistake to put only an apartment building in that area. Apartment buildings are dead zones. Not as bad as the self-storage buildings going up at Stop and Shop and across from Burlington Coat Factory, but really not a place for anyone to be except the 120 cars on the asphalt parking lot and the big lifeless building itself. In 4 public meetings conducted by the town and Stratford Forward, there was agreement that the site should have mixed-use development. Some residential uses with shops and cultural and social give back to the neighborhood. But this proposal ignores the wishes of the town residents completely. Please see the town's RFP, which documents the results of 3 public meetings clearly indicating that residential use was the least desirable of all the uses specified that the attendees wanted. Is it worth it to give away land away to such a lopsided use? An out-of-scale apartment building that will irrevocably negatively alter the character of the retail experience that exists. I could see 2.5-story row houses along Sutton with other amenities to the east, shops, something for seniors and children and teens and cultural get-togethers, places for theater, music, etc., and a small parking garage underground to help with the lack of parking for the existing businesses on Main Street. I feel that there has been a woeful lack of good planning for what should be in the TOD zone. This project should be scrapped and serious planning initiative undertaken by an outside consultant to identify the best uses and their locations. The hodgepodge approach the town is taking will ultimately benefit no one. The only reason the town council might be attracted to this is a very little tax revenue, and that should never be a reason to accept a bad project. I beg you to do everything you can to encourage complete denial of this proposal. No conditions for amelioration. The developer is totally ignoring what the RFP and the public meetings called for. Note that out of the 3 developers chosen to bid on this project, this one was the only one left after the other 2 dropped out. It appears that the RDA may have...
Mr. Chase, if you could wrap up. Yep.
Yes, one sentence.
Yep.
The RDA may have begged them to bid, so Zenolith created their own self-serving development with total disregard for what is good in Stratford's only downtown. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. I appreciate it. Next, we have Rachel Russell. Rachel, hi.
Hi, good evening. Rachel Rusnak, 15 Elm Street.
Say one more time, Rachel.
Rachel Rusnak at 1515 Elm Street.
Thank you, Rachel. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Great, thank you. Good evening. I'm speaking this evening to my solid opposition to the proposed Stratford Walk project at the former site of the center school. I'd first like to remind the council, the mayor, the Department of Economic Development, and the residents that are listening that a series of charrettes was held at taxpayer expense to gather input on what the residents of Stratford would like to see on this town-owned property. In reviewing the town's own RFQ and attachments, the results of the charrettes called for retail, arts, theater, a local food market, and other opportunities for the community. Additionally, the RFQ pointedly did not include the historic center school in the property to be developed. The developer of this proposal takes liberties to a ludicrous level, including additional parcels, land, and proposing tax abatement well above and beyond the norm. Accepting this proposal would be a short-sighted and detrimental decision that would wreak havoc on the historic downtown. That the town is even considering this proposal and brought it before town council for presentation lays bare the complete lack of thoughtful and strategic planning going on in the administration. I'm urging the town council to consider these questions. What is the return on investment on giving away the former school site and 2 historic buildings for $1? What is the return on investment on 100 plus apartments and parking spaces in an already congested historic area? What is the return on investment on corporate tax relief for 17 years? And I'd like to note that $1.7 million is less than 1% of the current budget for 1 year. When you spread this out over 17 years, we're talking about the town getting back over 17 years, less than a fraction of 1% of the budget. Once we've drained Stratford of what makes it a unique, historic, and beautiful place, there's no bringing it back. The town will lose nothing by leaving this property as is and waiting for an appropriate, thoughtful, and strategic mixed-use development that will bring value to the town. Let's not sell ourselves off for the sake of saying that anything was accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate it. Next, we have on the agenda Mr. David Chase. Mr. David Chess. David, if you can just state your address here for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
1990 Elm Street, Stratford, Connecticut. So I strongly oppose the development at Stratford Walk in the center school site. Mayor Hoydick ran on a campaign to bring leadership and transparency to Stratford. She convened 3 town-wide conferences to gather the input from our citizens. In addition, Stratford Forward convened 2 other meetings to gather the input of our community and to build consensus around what would best serve our town. The mayor and town officials participated in all of these gatherings. The resounding conclusion from all of these meetings is that residents called for a mixed-use space, including some residential, retail, and some community space for people to play music, dance, play together, build an extension to the Sterling House. Now, in the time of this COVID pandemic, it's harder to imagine some of this, but this is clearly what people want to see at the center school site. I understand that this will not work for a developer who needs a return on investment. So perhaps we should stop creating RFPs and trying to work to meet the developer's needs, but to do a 180-degree revolution and think differently. Think of meeting Stratford's needs. Instead of our land being given away for $1, we bond and fund the development of space which will serve our town. Our return on investment must support a long-term vision of building a place which is special, where we want to live and where our kids want to return to. Not a town full of high-rises. We need to vision a return on investment through a different lens. The town can easily build a low-intensity housing, stores, and community space and make $1.7 million over the next 17 years. At the same time, building a vision for Stratford. We beg our town officials not to sell this valuable property to the only bidder, but to invest in our town center and make Stratford great. This proposal is not at all consistent with the RFP and must be rejected. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chess. Next on the list for sign up, I have Miss Elizabeth St. Hi, Elizabeth. Are you with me? Do I have Elizabeth St., Miss St.?
I'm sorry, it cut out so badly I couldn't hear you call my name. This is Elizabeth St. My address is 2048 Elm Street. First of all, thank you for your time. And I have to say I am against the current Center Street proposal. My extremely well-spoken neighbors have addressed everything from the financial breakdown and the concerns over overpopulation, so I won't be redundant. My only thought is that I do think that this town has so many great possibilities, and there is a thirst, a hunger amongst the constituency for creative spots where we can stop and drop our kids off before we get on the train, where we can come off of the train and grab a cup of coffee or have a beer in a beer garden with a friend, where we have no problems with, beautifully addressed, possibly row houses. There's so much potential here, and there's so much potential to be a visionary and to think outward. And I would love to see that happen and to encourage and empower you to do that.
Thank you, Ms. St. I appreciate that. Stand by. Is there anybody else? I know Caitlin, you're still with us, right? Caitlin? Okay, I know you wanted to go last, so I'm going to grant that to you as councilperson. Hold on 1 second, okay? Is there anybody else on the call who has not signed up for the public forum that would like to speak? Please announce your name, so. Again, I'll just, one more time, anybody on the call that would like to speak for the public forum that has not spoken yet? Okay, Caitlin, are you with me?
I'm with you.
So, can you hear me? Go ahead, Caitlin, you have the floor.
Hello? Is there someone else that just said something?
Hello? Is someone trying to speak?
Hello, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, can you identify yourself, sir?
Yes, my name is Raymond St.
Raymond, would you like to speak to the public forum, sir?
Yes, I would like to speak on the forum. I wanted to, I'm from 200 Larkin Court on the south end of Stratford.
Yep,
I'm
sorry, Raymond, can you just repeat your last name, sir? I just want to make sure I have it for the record. And your address.
Yes, that's Stancil. That's Raymond Stancil, Stancil. Address 200 Larkin Court in Stratford, 06615, South End.
Thank you, sir. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Yes, I just want to speak on the taxes being raised in Districts 3, 4, and 5, and the targeting of the duplexes in Stratford with a 40% increase versus the 10% or well below in the rest of Stratford. I believe that everyone on this call knows that most of the duplexes are located in the south end of Stratford, where Black and Latinos mostly reside. To me, this is immoral, and it speaks volumes to the racism and the greed of the councilmen and women who rushed this vote in back in March or April, which I was on that call where Greg was speaking about this very, very eloquently and said that this was going to happen. When I opened up my July taxes, I saw that what he said came to pass. I think it's outrageous, and that you guys should be helping the people during the pandemic, not making a cash grab and using the pandemic for justification. This is immoral. It's probably illegal. And I want an investigation not only on the councilman who voted this in, but against the mayor herself and anyone who stands to gain from this outrageous and just blatant disrespect of the people of Stratford. I want every member to know and keep this on your mind who voted for this, that this is no different than the attack on George Floyd. You are choking us until there is just no life left. And it's ridiculous, and something should be done about this immediately. And that's my time.
Thank you, sir. Caitlin, are you with me?
I'm with you.
Go ahead. You have the floor, Caitlin.
Thank you. So Caitlin Shake, 44 Charlton Street. I just want to read the statement that I had put out a few weeks ago after the presentation was given to the council virtually. I was working that day and I tried feverishly to work my break schedule around to be on that call and to participate, but I was not acknowledged or recognized to do so. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to give my feedback immediately in the meeting. So my statement is as such. There is no doubt that Stratford is in need of a clear strategic vision and strong economic development plan to alleviate tax burden and position our town for success. After reviewing the Stratford Walk development along Sutton Avenue and Broadway, it's clear that we still have a long way to go. I appreciate and support the developer's plan for the creation of affordable housing units, but it's clear this proposal did not take into consideration the ideas and wishes that Stratford and 2nd District residents developed and articulated for the former Center School property, and that's extremely problematic. One of the consensus points from the public was that any development include a combination of residential and commercial uses. To only propose 2 units of commercial space for Stratford Walk is at best an attempt at window dressing. The scale and density of the proposed project is poised to overwhelm the existing neighborhood's character. The financing plan asks the town to basically give away the property for $1 and any real short-term tax revenue benefit without a clear and quantifiable articulation of what the long-term economic gain is for Stratford Center, the 2nd District, and the town as a whole. For any new development that occurs in the transit-oriented development zone and elsewhere in Stratford, taxpayers are entitled to know in concrete terms what the short, medium, and long-term benefits are. If Stratford is going to be asked to give away scarce and valuable property, then we demand to know what the return on our investment would be. I call on residents, and I'm glad that so many of you called in. And in addition to my colleagues on the council, as we have not yet had the opportunity to discuss this evening, I demand that the mayor have a formal cost-benefit analysis to be conducted for Stratford Walk and any other development that asks us to take such a high risk with our economic and our cultural assets. Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. And just for everyone on the call, that concludes the list for sign up for the public forum. For everybody listening, you're absolutely welcome and encouraged to stay on or dial back in for 8 o'clock for the regularly scheduled town council meeting. That. All right.
Chris, can you hear me?
I can. Who is that?
It's Mitzi. I signed up at the council chambers.
Yes, you did. Mitzi. Go ahead. You have the floor, ma'am. Absolutely.
I didn't do the public forum yet.
Yes, Mitzi, we're in the public forum. I will absolutely allow you to speak right now if you'd like to.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Would you like to speak for the public forum, Mitzi?
Yes, I would.
You have the floor. Can you just state your address? I know it, but can you state it for me?
Okay. My address?
Yes, please.
367 Windsor Avenue.
Go ahead, Mitzi. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to speak actually to the past and to the future.
Go ahead.
It's 5 years since Stratford citizens said no to the sale of our sewer plant, and the vote was 7,000 no and 2,400 yes. I think it's very ironic that the Greater New Haven WPCA just had a massive pipe rupture and dumped 2 million gallons of sewage into Mill River and eventually the Sound It caused the closing of beaches in New Haven, East Haven, Branford, and West Haven. And I'm glad we aren't part of the mess. Okay, that's the past. The future, most people are going to talk about Center School, about the dollar for the 3 acres of land and the 5-story apartments and 17-year abatement. But I want everybody to consider this. Look to the future. We are suffering from COVID-19, the whole country, the whole world, and it's a very unpredictable future. Many more people are working at home, and there are going to be fewer commuters. And I think it's time to halt any future apartment expansions that are set up mainly for commuters. Okay? And I also want to add one last thing. Goodbye, Matt Catalano. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mitzi. Okay. With that, I'm going to close the public forum on July 13, 2020 at 7:21 p.m. And as I mentioned before, everyone is encouraged to listen in or call in for the 8 p.m. regular scheduled meeting, which will be held via GoToMeeting. Thank you very much, all.
Okay.
Thank you.
This conference will now be recorded.